Admiral Sarah Chun stood in front of the big window in her office. She looked out at the stars and the many ships floating in space around Earth. The blue and green planet below looked peaceful, but Sarah knew that peace might not last much longer. Her assistant, Lieutenant Davis, walked into the room with a worried look on his face. He carried a small device that was beeping softly. "Admiral, we got a message from the Galactic Council," Davis said. His voice was quiet, like he was afraid to speak too loud. "They want to talk to you right away." Sarah turned around and looked at the young man. Davis had been working for her for 2 years now. He was a good officer, but she could see fear in his eyes today. "Put it on the main screen," Sarah said. The wall in front of her desk changed into a big screen. The face of Counselor Vex appeared. He was from the Altair species. His skin was gray and his eyes were big and black. When he spoke, his voice sounded like metal scraping against metal. "Admiral Chun," Vex said, "the Council needs Earth's help. There's trouble in the Kepler 442 system. Pirates are attacking trade ships. The Council has decided to send a big force to stop them." Sarah felt something cold in her stomach. She had been an admiral for 15 years. She knew when something was wrong. "What kind of help do you need from Earth?" she asked. "We need all of your ships," Vex said. His black eyes did not blink. "Every ship you have. This is a big problem and we need a big answer." Sarah's hands made fists at her sides. "All of our ships? That would leave Earth with almost no protection." "Earth is safe," Vex said quickly. "The Council protects all member worlds. No one would dare attack Earth, but we need your ships now. The pirates are getting stronger every day." Sarah looked at the alien's face on the screen. Something about the way he talked made her feel sick. But Earth was still new to the Galactic Council. They had only joined 5 years ago. If Earth said no to the Council, they might kick humanity out. Then Earth would be alone in space again. "How many ships do you need?" Sarah asked. "All of them," Vex said again. "Every warship, every fighter, every transport that can carry weapons. The Council has already sent orders to your government." "This is not a request, Admiral. This is a command." The screen went black. Sarah stared at it for a long time. Davis stood behind her, not making any sound. "Admiral?" Davis said finally. "What are we going to do?" Sarah walked to her desk and sat down. She put her head in her hands. Earth had 237 warships. Some were big battleships with guns that could destroy a moon. Others were small fighters that moved fast through space. If she took all of them away from Earth, the planet would only have the defense stations that floated around it. "Get me Defense Minister Harrison," Sarah said. "Right now." Davis pressed some buttons on his device. A few minutes later, another face appeared on the screen. Minister Harrison was an old man with white hair and tired eyes. He had been protecting Earth for 20 years. "Sarah," Harrison said, "I guess you got the same message I did." "They want all our ships," Sarah said. "Every single one," Harrison nodded. "The Council sent the orders directly to the President. He already signed them. We have no choice." "This feels wrong," Sarah said. "Why do they need every ship we have? And why now?" "I know," Harrison said. "I tried to ask questions, but they won't answer. They just keep saying it's a Council order. And we have to follow it." Sarah stood up and walked around her office. Through the window, she could see the ships getting ready to leave. Thousands of people were running around, loading supplies and checking weapons. "What about the defense stations?" Sarah asked. "They told us to keep them working," Harrison said. "But Sarah, 12 defense stations can't protect a whole planet. If someone really wanted to attack Earth, ... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Sarah knew what he meant. "How long do we have?" Sarah asked. "You need to leave in 6 hours," Harrison said. "The Council wants you at Kepler 442 in 3 days. Sarah felt anger rising in her chest. 6 hours was not enough time to get ready for a big fight. It was like the Council wanted them to rush and make mistakes. "Admiral," Davis said. He was looking at his device again. "I'm getting reports from the fleet commanders. They're all asking the same questions. This doesn't feel right to them either." Sarah thought about her commanders. Captain Rodriguez led the destroyers. He was young but smart. Commander Park was in charge of the stealth ships. She was the best at finding enemies before they found her. Captain Williams ran the big battleships. He had fought pirates before and knew how they worked. "Tell all commanders to meet me in Conference Room 7 in 1 hour," Sarah said. "I want to talk to them before we leave." 1 hour later, Sarah sat at a big table with her best officers. The room was quiet except for the soft sound of the ship's engines. Everyone looked worried. "You all know why we're here," Sarah said. "The Council wants us to take every ship we have to fight pirates in the Kepler system. What do you think?" Captain Rodriguez spoke first. "Admiral, I've fought pirates before. They use small, fast ships. They run away when they see a big force coming. Why would the Council need every ship we have?" Commander Park nodded. "And why aren't other Council species sending ships? Usually they make everyone send some ships to fight together." Captain Williams leaned forward. "I checked the reports about attacks in the Kepler system. There have only been 3 attacks. In the last 6 months, that's not very many. It doesn't seem like a big emergency." Sarah listened to her officers. They were all thinking the same thing she was thinking. This mission felt like a trap. "Admiral," said Commander Park, "I have friends in Council intelligence. They stopped talking to me last week. That never happens. Unless something big is about to happen." "What kind of big?" Sarah asked. "The kind where people get hurt," Park said. Sarah looked around the table at her officers. These were good people. They had families back on Earth. They trusted her to keep them safe. "We have our orders," Sarah said finally. "But I want everyone to be extra careful. Check your weapons twice. Make sure your ships can fight and run if they need to. And keep your eyes open." The officers nodded and left the room. Sarah sat alone for a few minutes, thinking. She picked up her phone and called her daughter back on Earth. "Mom?" Lisa's voice sounded happy. "I thought you were getting ready to leave." "I am," Sarah said. "But I wanted to hear your voice first. Is everything okay? You sound worried?" Sarah wanted to tell her daughter everything. She wanted to say that something felt wrong and she was scared, but Lisa was only 22 years old. She was in college studying to be a doctor. She didn't need to worry about space wars. "Everything is fine," Sarah lied. "I just wanted to tell you I love you." "I love you too, Mom. Come home safe, okay?" "I will," Sarah said. But as she hung up the phone, she wondered if she was lying again. 2 hours later, Sarah stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UES Defiance. It was the biggest ship in Earth's fleet. It had thick armor and powerful guns. From the bridge, she could see all the other ships getting ready to leave. "Admiral," said her navigation officer, "all ships report ready for jump." Sarah looked out at the fleet one more time. 237 ships. The entire strength of Earth's military. If something happened to them, Earth would be helpless. "Communications," Sarah said. "Send a message to Defense Minister Harrison. Tell him to keep watching the long-range sensors. If he sees anything strange, anything at all, he should call U.S. right away." "Yes, Admiral," the communications officer said. Sarah waited for a few minutes, but no reply came from Earth. She tried again. "Communications, did Minister Harrison get our message?" The young officer looked confused. "Admiral, I can't get through to Earth. Something is blocking our signal." Sarah felt ice in her veins. "What do you mean blocking?" "The signal is being jammed, Admiral. Someone doesn't want us to talk to Earth." Sarah grabbed the armrest of her chair. If someone was jamming their communications, it meant someone didn't want Earth to know what was happening. "Admiral," the sensor officer called out, "I'm getting strange readings from the edge of the system. It looks like ships, but they're too far away to identify." "How many ships?" Sarah asked. "I can't tell for sure, Admiral, but it looks like a lot." Sarah's mind raced. Strange ships at the edge of the system. Communications being jammed. Orders to take every ship away from Earth. It all added up to one thing. "All ships," Sarah said into her microphone. "This is Admiral Chun. Prepare for emergency jump to Kepler 442. We leave now. The space around the fleet began to shimmer and bend. One by one, the ships disappeared into hyperspace. Sarah was the last to leave. As her ship jumped, she took one last look at Earth. The beautiful blue planet looked so small and alone in the darkness of space. Sarah promised herself that no matter what happened, she would come back to protect it. But deep in her heart, she knew that when she came back, everything would be different. The jump to hyperspace felt like falling through a tunnel made of stars. Sarah stood on the bridge and watched the lights flash by. In 3 days, they would reach the Kepler system. In 3 days, she would find out if her fears were real. Behind them, Earth floated in space with only 12 defense stations to protect it. And somewhere in the darkness, unknown ships were moving closer to humanity's home. The trap was already closing. Sarah just didn't know it yet. 3 days later, Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance as the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. The Kepler 442 system spread out before them. It had one yellow star and several planets. The third planet was covered in red rocks and had no life on it. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Harris from the sensor station, "I'm not seeing any pirates." "The system looks empty." Sarah frowned. If they were here to fight pirates, where were the pirates? Where were the trade ships that needed protection? "Keep scanning," Sarah said. "And look for other council ships. We should not be the only ones here." Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the radio from his destroyer. "Admiral Chun, this is Rodriguez. My sensors are clean too. No pirates. No trade ships, no nothing." Sarah felt the cold feeling in her stomach get worse. Something was very wrong here. "Communications," Sarah said to the young officer at the radio station. "Try to contact the Council command ship. They should be here somewhere." "Yes, Admiral," the officer said. He worked at his controls for several minutes. "Admiral, I can't find any Council command ship, but I am getting a signal from behind the gas giant." Sarah looked at the big planet on the main screen. It was huge and green, with thick clouds that hid whatever was behind it. "Put the signal on speakers," Sarah said. A voice filled the bridge. It was Counselor Vex, the same alien who had given them their orders 3 days ago. "Admiral Chun," Vex said. His metal voice sounded different now. It sounded happy, like he was pleased about something. "Welcome to Kepler 442. Thank you for bringing your entire fleet." "Counselor Vex," Sarah said. "Where are the pirates we are supposed to fight? And where are the other council ships?" Vex made a sound that might have been laughing. "Oh, Admiral, there are no pirates. There never were any pirates." Sarah's blood turned to ice. "What do you mean?" "The other council ships are here," Vex said. "All of them." "Would you like to see?" Before Sarah could answer, the space behind the gas giant began to fill with ships. Hundreds of ships. Thousands of ships. They came from 7 different alien species. Sarah recognized the long silver ships of the Altair, the black triangle ships of the Cathara, the round blue ships of the Centauri. "Dear God," whispered Lieutenant Harris. Sarah's hands gripped her chair so tight her knuckles turned white. The alien fleet was 3 times bigger than Earth's fleet, and all their weapons were already charging to fire. "You see, Admiral," Vex continued, "humanity has become a problem. You have been in the galaxy for only 5 years, but you have already built too many ships. You learn too fast. You fight too well. The Council has decided that humans are too dangerous to live." Sarah felt sick. "You lied to us. You brought us here to kill us." "We brought you here to remove you from the equation," Vex said. "Your ships are strong, but they cannot protect Earth if they are all here, can they? By now, our invasion fleet has reached your home world. Your people will surrender, or they will die." Sarah's mind raced. Earth was defenseless. Her daughter was there. Billions of people were there, and she had led Earth's entire fleet into a trap. "You have a choice, Admiral," Vex said. "Surrender now, and we will let your crews live as slaves. Fight us, and we will kill every human in space and on Earth." Sarah looked around her bridge. Her officers were staring at her, waiting for orders. Some looked scared, some looked angry. All of them looked ready to fight. "Admiral," Captain Rodriguez said over the radio, "whatever you decide, my ship is with you." "Mine too," said Commander Park. "And mine," said Captain Williams. More voices joined in. Every ship captain in the fleet spoke up. They were all ready to follow her, even if it meant death. Sarah stood up from her chair. She thought about her daughter back on Earth. She thought about all the people who trusted her to protect them. The Council had made one big mistake. They thought humans would be easy to beat because they were new to space. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Counselor Vex," Sarah said into the microphone. Her voice was calm and cold. "I have an answer for you." "Yes," Vex said. "Go to hell." Sarah cut the communication line and turned to her crew. "All ships, battle stations. Prepare for combat." The bridge around her came alive with activity. Officers ran to their stations. Lights flashed red as the ship prepared for war. On the main screen, Sarah could see the alien fleet moving toward them in a big line. "Admiral," Lieutenant Harris said, "they have us outnumbered 3-1. "I know," Sarah said, "but they made a mistake. They think we will fight like other species. They think we will be polite and follow rules." She pressed a button on her chair that opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Chun to all ships," she said. "The aliens have betrayed us. They lied to get us here while their friends attack Earth. They think they can destroy us because we are outnumbered. They are wrong." She paused and looked at the alien fleet on the screen. "Today we show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. Today we show them that being outnumbered just means we have more targets. All ships, attack pattern Delta, no mercy. No quarter, make them pay for every inch of space." The human fleet broke apart like an explosion. The big battleships moved forward with their heavy guns blazing. The destroyers split left and right to attack the enemy flanks. The fighters launched from their carriers like angry bees. The aliens had expected humans to fight in neat lines like other species did. Instead, the human ships attacked from every direction at once. It was chaos, but it was controlled chaos. Captain Rodriguez led his destroyers straight into the center of the alien line. His ship, the UES Indomitable, fired every weapon it had. At a big Altair battleship, the alien ship's shields flashed and failed under the attack. "This is Rodriguez," his voice crackled over the radio. "First kill goes to the Indomitable." Commander Park's stealth ships appeared like ghosts among the alien fleet. They had been invisible until they started shooting. Now they hunted the alien command ships, trying to cut off the enemy's communications. "Park here," she reported. "Just took out a Cathara command cruiser. Their formation is starting to break up." On the main screen, Sarah watched the battle unfold. The aliens were good fighters, but they were not used to the way humans fought. Other species in the galaxy fought carefully. They tried not to lose ships. They retreated when things got bad. Humans fought like their lives depended on it, because they did. "Admiral," Lieutenant Harris called out. "The Centauri are trying to surround Captain Williams' battleship group." Sarah looked at the tactical display. The round blue ships were moving to trap the human battleships, but Williams was already moving to counter them. "This is Williams," his voice came over the radio. "Let them come. My guns are hungry." The UES Devastator, Williams' flagship, turned to face the approaching aliens. Its main guns were as big as houses. When they fired, the space around them lit up like a star. The first Centauri ship simply disappeared in a ball of fire, but the aliens were learning too. A group of Cathara ships focused their fire on one human destroyer. The ship's shields failed and its hull began to crack. "This is the UES Ranger." The captain's voice was tight with pain. "We're taking heavy damage. Shields are down, engines are failing." Sarah watched the destroyer drift helplessly as more alien ships moved in for the kill. She could not save them. From here, the Ranger was going to die, but the captain of the Ranger had other ideas. "All ships, this is Captain Blake," he said. His voice was calm even though his ship was dying. The Ranger is finished, but we're not done fighting. Setting course for that big Altair carrier. If we're going down, we're taking them with us. The damaged destroyer turned toward the huge alien ship and pushed its engines to maximum power. The aliens tried to stop it, but it was too late. The Ranger crashed into the carrier at full speed. The explosion lit up half the system. When the light faded, both ships were gone. Ranger down, Sarah said quietly, but not forgotten. The battle raged for 2 hours. Ships died on both sides, but the humans were fighting smarter. They used their speed and aggression to confuse the aliens. They attacked in small groups, then scattered before the enemy could respond. Slowly, the alien fleet began to pull back. They had expected an easy victory, but the humans were making them pay in blood for every ship they killed. "Admiral," Lieutenant Harris said, "I'm getting the signals from some of the alien ships. It sounds like they want to retreat." Sarah felt a moment of hope. If the aliens retreated, the human fleet could go back to Earth and help defend it. But then her communications officer spoke up. "Admiral, I'm getting a transmission from one of the alien ships. They want to talk." "Put it on screen," Sarah said. A new alien face appeared. This one was different from Vex. It had scales like a snake and yellow eyes. When it spoke, its voice hissed. "I am Seth of the Cathara," it said. "You have fought. Well, humans, better than we expected." "Not well enough to save your ships," Sarah said. The alien's yellow eyes narrowed. "Perhaps not. But while you fight us here, our main fleet attacks your homeworld. Even if you defeat us, you will return to find Earth in ashes and your people dead or enslaved." Sarah felt her heart stop. She had been so focused on the battle here that she had almost forgotten about Earth. "You see the truth now," Seth continued. "We have won even if you kill us all. Your planet is defenseless, your people are alone, and there is nothing you can do to save them." Sarah stared at the alien's smiling face. Around her, the bridge was silent. Everyone had heard what Seth said. Everyone knew it might be true. But Sarah was not ready to give up. "Lieutenant Harris," she said quietly, "how many alien ships are left?" "About half their original force, Admiral. Maybe 1,000 ships. And how many of ours?" 173 ships still fighting, Admiral." Sarah nodded. They were still outnumbered, but not as badly as before. "All ships," she said into the fleet communication system. "This is Admiral Chung. I know what you heard. I know you're thinking about your families back home. But we are not beaten yet." She stood up and walked closer to the screen showing Seath's face. "We are going to destroy every alien ship in this system. Then we are going home. And when we get there, we are going to make them pay for what they have done." The alien laughed. "You cannot defeat us all, human. And even if you do, it will be too late." Sarah smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator. "Maybe," she said, "but we are going to try, and Seth? When we get to Earth, we are going to remember which species betrayed us, all of them." She cut the communication and turned back to her crew. "All ships, resume attack, no prisoners. No mercy, let's go home." The battle began again, fiercer than before, but now it was not just about survival. Now it was about revenge. The battle in the Kepler system had been raging for 4 hours when Admiral Sarah Chun finally saw the end coming. Not the end of humanity, but the end of the alien fleet that had tried to destroy them. "Admiral," Lieutenant Harris called from his station, "that's the last of their command ships. The alien fleet is breaking apart." Sarah watched on the main screen as the remaining alien ships scattered in all directions. Some tried to escape into hyperspace. Others just drifted in space, their crews dead or surrendering. "How many of their ships are left?" Sarah asked. "Less than 200, Admiral. And most of those are damaged." Sarah nodded. When the battle started, the aliens had over 3,000 ships. Now they had almost nothing, but the victory felt hollow. While they fought here, Earth was under attack. "Captain Rodriguez," Sarah said into her radio. "Status report." "The Indomitable is still fighting, Admiral," Rodriguez replied. His voice sounded tired but proud. "We've lost weapons, but our engines still work. Commander Park? Stealth fleet is operational, Admiral. We lost 3 ships, but we're ready to move. Captain Williams? Battleship group is ready, Admiral. We're beat up, but we can still shoot." Sarah looked around her bridge. Her crew looked exhausted. They had been fighting for hours without rest, but she could see determination in their eyes. They all wanted to go home. "All ships," Sarah announced to the fleet. "Prepare to capture alien survivors. We need information about what's happening at Earth." Within an hour, human boarding teams had taken control of 12 damaged alien ships. The prisoners were brought to the Defiance for questioning. Sarah went down to the holding area to talk. To them herself, the first prisoner was a Kithara officer named Voss. He had scales like a snake and yellow eyes that glowed with hate. 2 human Marines stood guard while Sarah questioned him. "Tell me about the attack on Earth," Sarah said. Voss hissed and said nothing. Sarah nodded to one of the Marines. The Marine stepped forward and showed Voss pictures on a small screen. The pictures showed Kithara ships burning in space. "Those were your friends," Sarah said calmly. "We killed them all. You can join them, or you can answer my questions." Voss looked at the pictures and his eyes went wide. You destroyed the entire fleet?" "Every ship," Sarah said. "Now tell me about Earth." Voss was quiet for a long moment. Then he began to talk. "The main invasion fleet left for your system 2 days before you arrived here," he said. 5,000 ships from all 7 council species. Your planet has only 12 defense stations. It should have fallen by now. Sarah felt ice in her chest, but she kept her face calm. "Who is leading the invasion?" "Admiral Vex of the Altair." Voss said. "He commanded the fleet that destroyed the Rigel colonies last year." Sarah had heard of Vex. He was known for being ruthless. When he conquered a world, he left nothing alive. "What are his orders?" Sarah asked. Voss hesitated. Sarah nodded to the Marine again. "Wait," Voss said quickly. "I will tell you. His orders are to destroy all human military forces, then capture your industrial planets. Any humans who resist are to be killed. The rest will become slaves." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were filled with cold anger. "Thank you," she said to Voss. "You have been very helpful." She turned to leave, but Voss called after her. "You cannot save them," he said. "Even if you leave now, it will take you 3 days to reach Earth. The battle will be over. Your people will be dead or enslaved." Sarah stopped and looked back at him. "Maybe, but you will never know, will you?" She left the holding area and went back to the bridge. Her officers were waiting for her. "What did you learn, Admiral?" Lieutenant Harris asked. "Earth is under attack by 5,000 ships," Sarah sighed. "We have to go home now." The bridge was quiet for a moment. Everyone knew the odds. Even if they won here, they only had 170 ships left. How could they fight 5,000? "Admiral," Commander Park said over the radio, "my people found something interesting on one of the captured ships. They have detailed maps of the hyperspace routes to Earth and something else." "What else?" Sarah asked. "They have been jamming our communications for weeks. But we found their jamming codes. We can break through now." Sarah felt a spark of hope. "Can we contact Earth?" "We can try, Admiral." Sarah sat down in her command chair. "Do it." The communications officer worked at his station for several minutes. Static filled the speakers. Then, slowly, a voice came through. "This is Defense Minister Harrison," the voice said. It sounded weak and far away. "Is anyone out there?" "Minister Harrison," Sarah said. "This is Admiral Chun. Can you hear me?" "Sarah!" Harrison's voice became stronger. "Thank God. We thought you were all dead. We're alive, Minister. What's your status?" There was a pause. Then Harrison spoke again, and Sarah could hear explosions in the background. "They came 2 days ago," Harrison said. "Thousands of ships. More than we had ever seen. They destroyed the outer defense ring in the first hour." "What about the planet?" Sarah asked. "We're still fighting," Harrison said. "The lunar bases are gone, but they took a lot of alien ships with them. Mars base is under siege, but holding and Sarah ... The people are evacuating. Evacuating where? The outer colonies. Jupiter, Saturn, the asteroid mining stations. We've been moving people for months, ever since you left. Something told us this might happen. Sarah felt a wave of relief. If the civilians were evacuating, there was still hope. How many people have you moved? She asked. About 8 billion so far, Harrison said. But we still have 4 billion on Earth, and the evacuation ships are not armed. If the aliens find them ... They won't, Sarah said firmly. We're coming home. Sarah, they have 5,000 ships. You can't fight them all. Watch us, Sarah said. She cut the communication and turned to her crew. They were all looking at her with a mixture of hope and fear. All ships, Sarah announced to the fleet. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. Admiral, Lieutenant Harris said quietly. We only have 170 ships. Even with the element of surprise, how can we win against 5,000? Sarah smiled, but it was not a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who had been pushed too far. Lieutenant, the aliens made a mistake. They think like aliens. They follow plans and stick to formations. They fight wars the way they always have. She stood up and walked to the main screen, which showed the stars they would travel through to get home. But we are human, she continued, and humans do not fight fair. We fight to win. She turned back to her crew. I want every ship captain to meet me in the conference room in 1 hour. We are going to plan something the aliens will never expect. 1 hour later, Sarah sat at the big table with her remaining captains. The room was crowded with tired but determined faces. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah said, we are about to attempt something that will either save Earth or get us all killed. Probably both. Captain Rodriguez leaned forward. What do you have in mind, Admiral? Sarah activated the table's holographic display. A three-dimensional map of the solar system appeared above the table. The aliens are fighting a siege, she said. They have Earth surrounded and they are slowly crushing our defenses. They think they have all the time in the world because our main fleet is trapped here. But we're not trapped anymore, Commander. Park said, exactly, and that gives us an advantage. They are not expecting us. Captain Williams studied the display. Admiral, even with surprise, we are still massively outnumbered. True, Sarah said. But remember what we learned from the prisoners. The alien fleet is spread out around Earth. They have ships at the moon, ships around Mars, ships patrolling the outer system. They are not all in one place. She manipulated the display to show different colored dots representing alien forces. If we attack them all at once, in different places, we can make them think we have more ships than we do. Confusion is our friend, Commander Park nodded slowly. Hit and run attacks. Strike fast, then disappear before they can respond. Yes, but more than that, Sarah said. I want to make them angry. I want them to chase us. And while they are chasing shadows, our real attack will come from somewhere else. She changed the display to show a detailed view of Earth's orbit. The prisoners told us that Admiral Vex is commanding from a position above Earth's North Pole. His flagship is surrounded by his best ships. If we can get to him, cut off the head and the body dies, Rodriguez said. But how do we get close enough? Williams asked. His flagship will be protected by hundreds of ships. Sarah smiled again. That's where our new friends come in. She gestured toward the door. 2 Marines brought in one of the alien prisoners. It was Voss, the Cathara officer she had questioned earlier. Voss has agreed to help us, Sarah said. The alien looked uncomfortable but nodded. I do not wish to die for the Council's mistake. What mistake? Rodriguez asked. Underestimating humans, Voss replied. My people have been watching your species since you first reached space. We thought you were like the others, civilized, predictable. We were wrong. Sarah turned back to her captains. Voss is going to transmit a false surrender message to Admiral Vex. He will tell Vex that some human ships want to surrender and need safe passage to Earth. Will Vex believe it? Park asked. He will want to, Voss said. A human surrender would be a great victory for him. It would prove that the Council was right to attack you. Sarah nodded. While Vex is distracted by the fake surrender, we hit his flanks with everything we have. Fast, brutal, and unexpected. The captains looked at each other. It was a crazy plan, but it might work. What about the civilians still on Earth? Williams asked. Minister Harrison said they are still evacuating, Sarah replied. Our attack will give them more time. Every hour we can buy them might save millions of lives. Rodriguez stood up. Admiral, my destroyers are ready. When do we leave? Now, Sarah said. But remember, this is not just about winning a battle. This is about sending a message to every species in the galaxy. They think they can attack Earth because we are new and weak. Today we show them what happens when you threaten humanity's home. The captains filed out of the room to prepare their ships. Sarah remained behind with Voss. Why are you really helping us? She asked the alien. Voss was quiet for a moment. Because I have seen what humans do when they are angry. The Council thinks they can control you. But I know better. You cannot be controlled. You can only be destroyed or left alone, and destroying you? That may be impossible. 2 hours later, the human fleet entered hyperspace. Behind them, the Kepler system was filled with the wreckage of alien ships. Ahead of them lay Earth and the biggest battle in human history. As the stars stretched into lines around them, Sarah stood on the bridge and thought about her daughter. She thought about all the people who were counting on her. She thought about the aliens who had dared to attack humanity's home. They were about to learn that betraying humans was the last mistake they would ever make. Admiral Sarah Chun felt her heart break when her fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Through the main screen of the UES Defiance, she could see Earth burning, the beautiful blue planet that had been humanity's home. For thousands of years was surrounded by fire and smoke. Alien ships filled the space around it like angry insects. Explosions lit up the darkness as Earth's defense stations died one by one. Dear God, whispered Lieutenant Harris. We're too late. Sarah gripped her chair so hard her knuckles turned white. She could see the massive alien fleet spread across the system. There were ships near Mercury, ships around Venus, ships clustering around Mars, and above Earth itself, hundreds of enemy vessels rained death down on the planet's surface. Admiral, the communications officer called out. I'm getting a transmission from Mars base. They're still fighting. Sarah felt a spark of hope. Put it through. A voice filled the bridge. It was Colonel Martinez, the commander of Mars base. He sounded tired and hurt, but he was still alive. This is Mars base to any human ships, Martinez said. We've been under siege for 3 days. The aliens have us surrounded, but we're not giving up. If anyone can hear this, we're still here. Sarah grabbed her microphone. Colonel Martinez, this is Admiral Chun. The fleet has returned. There was silence for a moment. Then Martinez's voice came back, stronger than before. Admiral! Thank God. We thought you were all dead. What's your status? We have 170 ships, Sarah said. What about Earth? Bad, Martinez replied. They've destroyed most of the orbital defenses. The lunar bases are gone, but the ground forces are still fighting and the evacuation is still going on. Sarah looked at the tactical display. The aliens had over 4,000 ships left in the system. Even after their losses at Kepler, they still outnumbered the humans 20-1. Colonel, we're going to try something crazy, Sarah said. Can you create a diversion? Admiral, we can barely keep our shields up. But if you need a diversion, we'll give you one hell of a show. Sarah smiled for the first time in days. That's what I was hoping you'd say. She cut the communication and turned to her crew. Around her, the bridge buzzed with activity as they prepared for battle. All ships, Sarah announced to the fleet. Execute Plan Alpha. Remember, we only get one chance at this. The human fleet split into 4 groups. Captain Rodriguez took his destroyers toward Mars. Commander Park led her stealth ships toward the outer system. Captain Williams brought his battleships around toward Venus, and Sarah took the remaining ships directly toward Earth. Admiral, Lieutenant Harris said, the alien fleet is moving. They've detected us. Sarah watched as thousands of enemy ships began to turn toward the approaching humans. But they were confused. They could see human ships in 4 different places at once, and they didn't know which group to attack first. Phase 1 is working, Sarah said. Now for Phase 2. She opened a channel to Voss, the Kithara prisoner who was helping them. Voss. You're on, she said. The alien's voice filled the bridge as he transmitted on council frequencies. Admiral Vex, Voss said in his hissing voice. This is Commander Voss. I have captured a group of human ships that wish to surrender. They are requesting safe passage to discuss terms. On the main screen, Sarah could see a massive Altair battleship hanging above Earth's North Pole. That was Vex's flagship, the Dominator. It was 3 times bigger than any human ship and had enough firepower to destroy a moon. A new voice came over the radio. It was deep and cold, like metal grinding against stone. This is Admiral Vex, the voice said. Bring the human ships to me. I want to see them surrender in person. Sarah nodded to her navigation officer. Take us toward the flagship. Make it. Look like we're surrendering. The Defiance and 12 other human ships moved slowly toward the massive alien vessel. Around them, hundreds of Altair and Kithara ships formed an escort. The aliens thought they were watching humanity give up. They were wrong. Admiral, Harris whispered. We're getting close to point-blank range. Sarah watched the distance counter. On her screen, 5 kilometers, 4 kilometers, 3 kilometers. At 2 kilometers from the Dominator, Sarah gave the order that would change everything. All ships, open fire. Kill them all. The human ships erupted in flame and fury. Every gun, every missile, every weapon they had fired at once. The alien escort ships, caught completely off guard, began to die. The Defiance's main guns punched through the shields of an Altair cruiser and turned it into scrap metal. Captain Morrison's battleship destroyed 2 Kithara destroyers with a single salvo. The surprise attack was devastating, but Admiral Vex was not easy to kill. The Dominator's shields flared as human weapons struck them, but they held. The massive ship began to turn its own guns toward the humans. All power to forward. Shields, Sarah shouted. Ram the flagship! Admiral! Harris called out. If we ram them at this speed, we'll both be destroyed. That's the idea, Sarah said grimly. The Defiance accelerated toward the Dominator. Around them, the space battle raged as more alien ships rushed to defend their commander. But Sarah had eyes only for the enemy flagship. At the last second, the Dominator tried to turn away. But it was too big and too slow. The Defiance crashed into its side like a meteor hitting a mountain. The impact threw everyone on the bridge to the floor. Lights flickered and sparks flew from damaged equipment. But when the smoke cleared, both ships were still intact. Damage report, Sarah called out as she pulled herself back into her chair. Hull breach on decks 4 through 7, Harris reported. But we're still in one piece, and Admiral... we're stuck to them. Sarah looked at the main screen. The Defiance was embedded in the side of the Dominator like an arrow in a tree. The 2 ships were locked together, spinning slowly through space. Perfect, Sarah said. Launch boarding parties. Take that ship, Admiral, the communications officer called out. Captain Rodriguez is reporting from Mars. He says the aliens there are pulling back to help defend the flagship. And Commander Park? She's hit 3 alien supply convoys in the outer system. The aliens don't know where she strike next, Sarah nodded. The plan was working. By attacking in multiple places, they were forcing the aliens to spread their forces thin. But the battle around Earth was far from over. Even with the flagship under attack, there were still thousands of alien ships in the system. Admiral, Harris said urgently. Long-range sensors are picking up something big coming from the direction of Jupiter. Sarah looked at the tactical display. A new group of ships was approaching from the outer system. But these weren't alien ships. Those are human vessels, she said in amazement. Where did they come from? The answer came over the radio. Was a voice she recognized, Captain Lisa Chun, her own daughter. "Mom," Lisa's voice said. "This is the civilian evacuation fleet. We heard you needed some help." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. On the screen, she could see hundreds of ships approaching. There were cargo haulers, passenger liners, mining vessels, and construction ships. They weren't warships, but they were carrying millions of evacuated civilians. "Lisa," Sarah said, "get those people out of here? This is no place for civilians." "With respect, Admiral," Lisa replied, and Sarah could hear the smile in her voice. "These civilians just spent 3 days loading every ship they could find with rocks, metal debris, and anything else that explodes. We may not be the Navy, but we're still human." As Sarah watched, the civilian fleet began to attack the alien ships near Jupiter. Cargo haulers rammed enemy cruisers. Mining ships used their drilling equipment as weapons. Even the passenger liners had been armed with makeshift guns. It was chaos. It was insane. And it was working. The aliens had never seen anything like it. They were used to fighting other military forces that followed rules and formations. They didn't know how to fight an entire civilization that had turned itself into a weapon. "Admiral," Lieutenant Harris called out, "our boarding parties have reached the Dominator's bridge. They're reporting heavy resistance, but they're making progress." Through the hull of her ship, Sarah could hear the sounds of fighting. Human. Marines were battling alien soldiers inside the enemy flagship. The outcome would determine who controlled the battle. "Admiral Vex," Sarah said into her microphone, broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Admiral Chun. Your flagship is under attack, your fleet is scattered, and humanity is fighting back. Surrender now, and I might let some of you live?" Vex's voice came back, filled with rage and disbelief. "You cannot defeat us, human. We have thousands of ships." "You have only hundreds. Look around you," Sarah said calmly. "Your ships are burning, your allies are retreating. And we're just getting started." As if to prove her point, Captain Williams' battleship group appeared behind a cluster of Cathara ships near Venus. The aliens had been moving to reinforce Earth, but now they found themselves under attack from an unexpected direction. "This is Williams," his voice came over the radio. "Venus is clear. All alien ships destroyed or retreating." But the aliens were not finished yet. A massive Centauri fleet, over 1,000 ships strong, was moving toward Earth from the direction of Saturn. If they reached the planet, they could destroy every human ship in the system. "Admiral," Harris said, "that Centauri fleet will be here in 20 minutes. We need to stop them." Sarah looked around her damaged bridge. Half her equipment was broken, her ship was stuck to an enemy vessel, and she was outnumbered 100 to 1, but she was not ready to give up. "All ships," she announced to the fleet. "The enemy is bringing everything they have. This is our chance to end this war in one battle." She paused and looked at her crew. They were exhausted, bloodied, but still fighting. They think they can destroy us with numbers. They think they can scare us into surrender? They are wrong. We are human. We don't know how to quit. Around the system, human ships began to converge on the approaching Centauri fleet. Damaged destroyers limped toward the battle with their guns still firing. Civilian ships loaded with debris prepared to ram enemy vessels. Even the evacuation transports turned to fight, their holds full of refugees who refused to run. The final battle was about to begin, and this time it would not just decide the fate of Earth. It would determine whether humanity would survive in a galaxy that had tried to destroy them. "All ships," Sarah said one final time. "Attack. Show them what happens when you threaten our home." The human fleet charged toward the enemy, and space itself seemed to hold its breath. The final battle above Earth lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the space around humanity's homeworld was filled with the wreckage of alien ships. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, looking out at the aftermath. Her ship was still attached to the alien flagship Dominator, both vessels drifting slowly through the debris field. Around them, the few surviving enemy ships were either surrendering or trying to escape into hyperspace. "Admiral, Lieutenant," Harris said, his voice hoarse from shouting orders during the battle. Final count is coming in. We destroyed over 4,000 alien ships. The rest have fled the system. Sarah nodded, but she felt no joy in the victory. The cost had been terrible. Of the 170 ships that had returned from Kepler, only 93 were still fighting. Thousands of her people were dead, but Earth was safe. What about the civilian fleet? Sarah asked. Your daughter's ships took heavy losses, Harris replied quietly, but Captain Lisa Chun is alive. She's asking to speak with you. Sarah's heart jumped. Put her through. The main screen flickered and Lisa's face appeared. She was dirty and tired, with a bandage over one eye, but she was smiling. Hey, Mom, Lisa said. We did it. You should not have been here, Sarah said, trying to sound angry. But she could not hide the relief in her voice. This was no place for civilians. The aliens made it our place when they attacked our home, Lisa replied. Besides, someone had to save you military types. You were getting your butts kicked up there? Sarah almost smiled. Her daughter had always been stubborn. How many civilian ships did we lose? Sarah asked. Lisa's smile faded. Too many, but Mom, you should know something. Every single ship that could fly came to fight. Transport pilots, cargo haulers, mining crews, even the garbage collectors. When Earth called for help, everyone answered. Through the communication system, Sarah could hear voices from all over the system. Human ships were reporting in, confirming that the alien threat was over. Mars base was secure. The asteroid mining stations were safe. The evacuation fleets were beginning to return home. Admiral, the communications officer called out. I'm getting a transmission from the surface. It's President Morrison. The screen changed to show the president in his emergency bunker deep under Washington. He looked older than Sarah remembered, his hair now completely white. Admiral Chun, the president said. On behalf of all humanity, thank you. You and your people saved our species. We did what we had to do, Mr. President, Sarah replied. But this is not over. The Council sent 7 species to destroy us. We need to make sure they can never do this again. The president nodded. What do you recommend? Sarah looked around her bridge. Her officers were listening carefully. These were the people who had fought beside her, who had seen their friends die in the cold of space. They deserved to have a say in what came next. The Council betrayed us, Sarah said slowly. They lied to us, trapped our fleet, and tried to destroy our home. They thought we would be easy victims because we were new to space. She paused and looked directly at the president. They were wrong. And now they need to learn the price of that mistake. Over the next 6 months, Sarah watched humanity transform itself. The attack on Earth had awakened something deep in the human spirit. The planet that had once focused on peaceful exploration now became a war machine, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Every factory, every shipyard, every construction facility was converted to military production. Humans who had been farmers and teachers and shopkeepers now worked day and night to build warships. The industrial capacity that had once been limited by galactic treaties was unleashed, and the ships they built were unlike anything that had come before. Human engineers, no longer bound by council regulations, designed vessels that were faster, deadlier, and more aggressive than any alien ship. They learned from the wreckage of enemy vessels, taking the best ideas and making them better. Sarah, now promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander, stood in the main briefing room of Luna Station 6 months after the battle. Around the table sat her most trusted officers. The wall screens showed the current state of the human fleet. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah said, when this war started, we had 240 ships. Today we have over 3,000, and production is increasing every week. Captain Rodriguez, now an admiral himself, looked at the numbers with amazement. How is this possible? Because every human in the system is working toward the same goal, Sarah replied. The Council wanted to destroy us. Instead, they created something much more dangerous. She changed the display to show a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the home systems. of the 7 species that had attacked Earth. Our intelligence reports tell us that the Council species are trying to rebuild their fleets, Sarah continued. They think they can go back to business as usual. They think we will forgive and forget. Commander Park, now in charge of all stealth operations, smiled coldly. They don't know humans very well, do they? No, Sarah said, they don't. Which is why we are going to teach them. She touched a control, and the display zoomed in on the Altair home system. Admiral Vex, the alien who led the attack on Earth, came from this system. It seems appropriate that we start there. Admiral Rodriguez leaned forward. What are our orders, Commander? Sarah looked around the table at her officers. These were people who had lost friends and family to the alien attack. They had earned the right to seek justice. The Altair attacked our home, Sarah said quietly. Now we attack theirs. But this is not just about revenge. This is about making sure no one ever tries to destroy humanity again. 3 weeks later, Sarah stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the UES Retribution. It was twice the size of her old ship and carried enough firepower to level a continent. Around her, a fleet of 500 human warships prepared to jump into hyperspace. All ships report ready, Lieutenant Commander Harris announced. He had been promoted after the battle and remained Sarah's most trusted aide. Very well, Sarah said. Take us to the Altair system. It's time to return their visit. The jump to Altair took 2 days. When the human fleet arrived, they found a system in chaos. The aliens had been rebuilding their fleet, but they only had about 200 ships. Against 500 human vessels, they stood no chance. This is Supreme Fleet Commander Chun to all Altair vessels, Sarah broadcast on all frequencies. You attacked our home. You tried to destroy our people. Now you will face the consequences. The response came from an Altair admiral whose voice shook with fear. Commander Chun, we were following council orders. We had no choice. Everyone has a choice, Sarah replied coldly. You chose to attack innocent people. Now we choose to respond. The battle was not really a battle. It was an execution. Human ships, built for war and crewed by people who remembered Earth burning, tore through the Altair fleet like wolves through sheep. Within 4 hours, every alien warship was destroyed. But Sarah was not finished. All ships target the orbital installations, she ordered. Commander, Admiral Rodriguez said quietly. Those are civilian targets. Sarah looked at him with eyes that had seen too much death. Were the people on Earth military targets? Were the children in the evacuation ships legitimate enemies of war? Rodriguez was quiet. The Altair need to understand, Sarah continued. When you attack humanity, there are consequences, real consequences. The human fleet systematically destroyed every orbital platform, every space station, every artificial structure in the Altair system. They left the planets themselves alone, but the message was clear. The Altair civilization had been set back 100 years. As the human fleet prepared to leave, Sarah received a transmission from the planet below. Please, the voice said. It was an Altair leader, begging, we surrender. We will do anything you ask. Just stop the destruction. Sarah stared at the planet on her screen. She could see the lights of cities, the glow of civilization. Billions of aliens lived down there, most of whom had nothing to do with the attack on Earth. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she remembered her daughter's voice during the battle, remembered the fear in Lisa's eyes, remembered the thousands of humans who had died because these aliens had chosen to follow orders. The destruction stops when you remove every weapon from your system, Sarah said. It stops when you disband your military completely. It stops when you agree never to leave this system again without human permission. You ... You cannot do this, the Altair leader protested. The council will not allow it. Sarah laughed, but there was no humor in it. The council? Where was the council when we were fighting for our lives? They started this war. Now we will finish it. Over the next 18 months, human fleets visited every system that had participated in the attack on Earth. The Cathara homeworld was left in ruins, its orbital cities reduced to debris. The Centauri colonies were blockaded until they surrendered. Unconditionally. The Rigel Empire, which had provided ships for the invasion, saw its entire fleet destroyed in a single afternoon. Some systems fought back. They were quickly shown the error of their ways. Others surrendered immediately. They were treated with slightly more mercy, but the message was always the same. Humanity remembered its enemies. The galaxy watched in horror as the newcomers systematically dismantled the power structure that had betrayed them. Other species, those who had not participated in the attack, began to reconsider their relationship with humans. Sarah found herself in an office on Luna Station, meeting with ambassadors from dozens of alien species. They came to apologize, to explain that they had never supported the Council's decision to attack Earth. "Commander Chun," said Ambassador Krell of the Vegan Republic, "my people want you to know that we opposed the attack from the beginning. We argued against it in the council chambers." Sarah looked at the blue-skinned alien with tired eyes. "And yet, when the attack happened, where were your ships? Where was your help?" Krell shifted uncomfortably. We could not openly oppose. The council, it would have meant war." "It was already war," Sarah said quietly. "You just chose the wrong side." As the months passed, the galactic situation continued to change. The old council structure had collapsed. Some species rebuilt their fleets and tried to challenge humanity directly. They were quickly reminded why that was a bad idea. Other species chose a different path. They approached Earth with offers of alliance, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts. These offers were considered carefully, but humanity was no longer naive about galactic politics. Sarah stood in her office 1 year after the attack on Earth, looking out at the largest human fleet ever assembled. Over 5,000 warships floated in formation around Luna Station. In the distance, construction crews were working on even larger vessels. "Admiral Rodriguez to see you," her aide announced. Rodriguez entered and saluted. "Commander, we just received word from the Outer Scouts. The Dominion Empire is massing a fleet near the galactic core. Intelligence suggests they are planning to unite the remaining Council species against us." Sarah nodded. She had been expecting this. The Dominion was the largest alien empire in the galaxy, with over 10,000 systems under their control. If they were organizing the remaining alien powers, humanity would face its greatest test yet. "How many ships are they gathering?" Sarah asked. "Preliminary reports suggest over 20,000 vessels," Rodriguez replied. Sarah was quiet for a moment. 20,000 ships was more than humanity had ever faced. But she thought about Earth, about the billions of people who trusted her to protect them. She thought about her daughter, who was now captain of her own ship. She thought about all the humans who had died in the alien attack. "Then we will build more ships," Sarah said simply. "And we will remind the galaxy once again that attacking humanity has consequences." She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, aliens were gathering to destroy her people once more. They thought they could succeed where others had failed. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Admiral Rodriguez," Sarah said without turning around, "send a message to all human colonies, all shipyards, all military installations." "What message, Commander?" Sarah smiled, but it was the cold smile of a predator. "Tell them we have work to do." The galaxy had tried to destroy humanity once. They had learned the price of that mistake. Now they were preparing to try again. This time, Sarah would make sure they learned the lesson permanently.